in 6 minutes starts now.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. President Obama says what he's about to do on gun control is
well within my legal authority.
And he says these are executive actions
the overwhelming majority of the American people, including gun owners, support and believe in.
Victims of gun violence will be at the White House today as he unveils these actions that would expand background checks to guns sold online and at gun shows and flea markets without Congress's approval. Now, Republicans on Capitol Hill are critical, and so are ones running for president. Fox's Jeff Manasso is live in Missouri Valley, Iowa.
Ted Cruz kicked off his Cruise into Caucus bus tour, calling President Obama's intentions on gun control an illegal abuse of power.
President Obama and Hillary Clinton continually focus on stripping the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens instead of fighting the bad guys.
And Cruz is not standing alone. Chris Christie, Donald Trump, and Marco Rubio also critical of the president's looming executive action, among other things. Meantime, Cruz wrapped up day one of his 6-day, 28-bus stop tour with a packed crowd here in Missouri Valley, Iowa, late last night, beginning day two just north of us. Later this morning, Dave.
Jeff, the two ranchers who got extra prison time in an arson case have surrendered, but the protest their case generated endures in Oregon. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has this live.
Schools are closed for the week in Burns, Oregon, out of an abundance of caution, and Harney County Sheriff David Ward has asked the group to go home.
Our goal is to work together and restore calm and regular services for the people of that community.
The anti-government activists are holding a remote wildlife reserve. Now, a spokesman for the protesters say they want an investigation into claims the two ranchers were intimidated by the federal government. Federal authorities don't seem to be in a hurry to end the takeover. The group says they're prepared to stay for years, Dave.
Tanya, it's a somber day in France, with ceremonies in Paris at 3 sites a year after Islamic terrorists attacked a satirical newspaper, Charlie Hebdo, and then a kosher supermarket, killing 17 people in 3 days. This is Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
What would an extra $250 a month mean to you? For some, it's a little financial breathing room. For others, it's a car payment, a home repair, or help with college tuition. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I've got some great news if you're looking to save money on your mortgage. All it takes is a simple phone call to Quicken Loans at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Folks who refinance with HARP can save an average of $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. Our home loan experts fully understand the HARP guidelines, and they'll walk you through our streamlined process. And for 6 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
There is still no agreement on how to bring casino gambling to North Jersey. The fight remains on whether only existing Atlantic City casinos can expand to the north or whether an outsider will be brought in to run one of the new gaming halls. The temperatures are finally dropping. It could mean more seal sightings in New Jersey. The Marine Mammal Stranding Center says many seals migrate south to New Jersey when water temperatures dip. He's reminding you, don't approach them if you see them.
This has been a problem in past years, and we want to tell people that there are still wild animals. They do bite.
There have been only a handful of sightings so far because of the unseasonably warm weather. More gun sales will require background checks. Under current law, only federally licensed gun dealers must conduct them on buyers, but many who sell guns at flea markets, on websites, or in other informal settings don't register as dealers. A New Jersey transit bus hit a street sweeper in Galloway Township. The accident hurt the bus driver and a passenger. The sweeper was stopped at a red light when it was hit. The driver has been charged with careless driving. I'm Eric Scott, and this is the Town Square News Network.
This is New Jersey's coldest morning since early March of last year. This morning's wind chill near 0 degrees. It'll be sunny and cold all day long with lighter winds as the day progresses. That's certainly a good thing. High temperatures today in the lower 30s. Most of the state staying below the freezing mark all day long. Clear and very cold again tonight. Lows mostly in the teens, and will warm up a little bit tomorrow with mostly sunny skies and highs near 40 degrees. That's near normal for this time of year. Partly sunny on Thursday, some highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Dan Zarrow.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Hey, thanks very much. Welcome back. It is a balmy right now, 16 degrees. It was 13 when I arrived here this morning in the 3 o'clock hour with a wind chill value minus 4 degrees. But you know Chuck Malamut's here because things are heating up. He gave us 3 degrees that we didn't have just a little bit ago. Oh, I hope that Chuck heard the county executive bragging about him this morning. He did. That was really just the highest compliment. Called Chuck Malamut brilliant. Then he referred to him as my official financial. Then he corrected himself and said he's our official. It was the most beautiful testimonial from the top elected official in the district, Denny Levinson, to Chuck Malamut, who is now in his 26th year officially right now as the official financial advisor to the Hurley in the Morning program. And this program is presented by Chuck, who is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this weekly broadcast are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of today's broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, before I brag about you for a moment, I have to take this opportunity to congratulate brother Bill Malamut. You want a little more juice in your headset? Good there. Now down. How's that, Chuck? Okay. Brother Bill Malamut, in the final week of our purely entertainment football, pool that we do, was 2 games behind going into the 17th and final week of the season. Bill Malamut pulled off a 10-week win final week of the season, wins the whole kit and caboodle by 1 game. Chuck, your little baby brother is our champion.
Good morning, Harry. Yeah, it's. I think if you learned any lesson from this, a word to the wise. During the day.
No. You can't say that.
No, during the day, it's best that we keep our thoughts to ourselves.
No. I'm gonna. I see, Chuck. Here I am congratulating Bill, and Chuck's taking the opportunity to take a slam at me. Let me explain. I don't even need to go back to the text. I celebrated the fact that after 10 games, I was 9-1. However, I said immediately after that little celebration, there are whatever many games I said, there are many more games for me to still lose, and I lost them all. And I did open my show with that this morning, Chuck. We were 9-1. Your mayor of the morning, 9-1 after 10 games. I went on to lose the remaining 6 straight games. I should have been the winner this week, but I was not. But I did say, Chuck, remember, you looked at the text. I said, but there's still a lot of games for me to lose. And I didn't disappoint.
No, Harry, you did not. But again, congratulations to Brother Bill. I think you are now obligated. I think Billy gets to pick whatever restaurant he wants to go to for his immediate family.
You're extending this.
The commissioner.
I thought it was a Capri Pizza.
No, I think we're going to do a little bit better than that because we're going to get into your budget pretty good. We're going to wreck your advertising media budget for 2016 with one lunch. But seriously speaking, no, it was
it's a great win, great victory.
As again, this is for entertainment purposes only. What I find amazing, being somewhat of a stat freak and what we do all day long is the fact that you go in 17 weeks. And you get to the last game to make a decision who your champion is going to be. And literally between the first 6 or 7 spots, I want to say there was a 2 or 3 game differential.
You were right there, too. You could have been our champion.
It depends, if you get it right, get it wrong. But, yeah, there can only be one winner when it's all.
I'll tell you, it was a crazy week, though. Even when I was winning 9 out of 10, there were so many crazy results that went my way in the first 10 games. Then Kansas City yacked up. They won the game. By the way, that's a team you don't want to play in the playoffs right now. They've won 10 in a row.
No, Andy Reid has certainly proven reinvigorated that organization. There's no doubt about it.
They're not good at covering the spread, but they definitely are good at winning. They opened a little bit shaky this year after really opening incredibly strong last year. But man, oh man, when you go into the playoffs with a 10-game winning streak, and then Chuck, I don't know that you and I have been together. Chip Kelly's gone. So a new Eagles coach is going to come about. You have a new Giants coach that has to be hired. There's a lot of new coaches come to the NFL this year.
Look, Harry, that happens every year. It's certainly not unexpected. What does, and I don't want to say traditionally happen, but it seems to happen more times than not. And when you get to that week 17, teams that you think have nothing to play for, rise to the occasion, knock off teams like the New York Jets, Rex Ryan,
and they're going to need a new coach. I mean, I hear you. There's a lot of turnover every year. This, I think, is going to be disproportionate. This is going to be more than is typically true. Bill is listening right now on Radio Pup, our Town Square Media app. So we say congratulations to our champion for 2015 and 2016. And if I'm not mistaken, he never led the entire pool for any moment of the entire season until the very last game.
I think if my memory serves me correctly, there might have been a few weeks where there was a tie.
Okay, so he was at the top.
But there was clearly he was not in the lead for any period of time.
But he was always a stalking horse, though. He was always in the game.
Correct.
In the conversation.
So good job, and now we move on to the playoffs, and hopefully the Eagles can, right that organization.
I think Pat Shurmur did a really good job coaching the team on no notice, prepping for an away game against a division rival, typically their biggest division rival, in the past several years, and they were fortunate that interception for a touchdown return when the Giants were ready to go up 2 touchdowns, and that's why football is just, you scratch your head, because the Eagles were nearly down 2 touchdowns, and in the blink of an eye, they were up by 1 point. Just like that, one play.
I will admit, Harry, I didn't watch.
I did.
I didn't watch the game.
I did. Hey, listen, the game, they're my team. They were out of the playoffs, but also I treated that game like it was very important because the loser was going to get third place in the NFC East, which means you go to London, England next year, and that is a mess for your season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good for the Eagles, and I think they're going to go get a really unbelievable coach. I don't think they're going to go the route of college coaches right now, and I'm looking forward to the Eagles having a really good rebound season because the talent is there. I just don't think that Chip Kelly was the coach for the team. Before we get to the first item on your financial program, Chuck, the Atlanta County Executive, Denny Levinson, was extremely kind in his praise of you this morning.
He was, and thank you, Denny.
Yeah.
Completely unsolicited.
I know. Made it even more special.
So
he knew you were coming on next, which proves he's got great taste in talk shows because he knows the lineup, and he was very kind to you. And well-deserved, I might add.
Harry, certainly it takes years to earn the kind of comments that Denny made. And Denny, I certainly do appreciate it. And I think he's absolutely right. And this is not part of our presentation that we prepped for today, Harry. But, Atlantic City is always on, in our minds. And I certainly think about it, more times than not in chatting with clients, prospective clients, friends, associates, and I think that for this city to basically resurrect itself, I mean, you have some very, very serious things that have to get accomplished here, and I think the number one thing that we need to think about is that convenience gaming is obviously available everywhere, and the fact that that the politicians in the state of New Jersey at the state level are willing to basically throw the towel in for Atlantic City to help reinvigorate North Jersey, which I don't think needs it, Harry, and put casinos in areas that, quite frankly, the infrastructure's not there. And we can spend the entire hour and then some discussing that. But
I honestly believe that's a big part of people from this area going into where people would be just so affected by the additional density and already demonstrating the collapsing infrastructure, already how crowded and the traffic and everything. So if I look at it this way, if they can lie to try to get this on, we can tell the truth to help defeat it.
Yeah, but Harry, here's what we think about all the time, and it might be a little repetitive, but I think it's certainly worth revisiting. All day long, we are working with clients in building and crafting and maintaining portfolios. And depending upon whether it's a taxable or a tax-exempt account, and depending upon the client's state of residency, we oftentimes look to buy municipal bonds, for safety, security, and that income stream that has been predictable for many, many years. In my tenure of close to 30 years in the industry, we have seen a few bankruptcies, with obviously the most recent and at the forefront is the city of Detroit, which is now in that resurrection stage or state, so to speak. But
so can you make the case that bankruptcy could be good for Atlantic City?
But what I want to, what you said in the last hour, and I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I wish I kind of committed it to memory, and I haven't. So if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Okay.
But I think you made the statement that, or Denny, or maybe the two of you said, well, buying Atlantic City debt is probably not a bad thing to do because in the state in New Jersey has never had a bankruptcy. I mean, did you guys say that? Exactly?
There hasn't. Well, I think we said Denny used the year. I think it was 1923. There hasn't been a bankruptcy in. It's got to be 7 or 8 decades, maybe more, maybe close to a century. And the concept that I then parlayed off of what Denny said was, this is a high yield because you are taking supposed risk, but where's the risk if they're basically the equivalent of backed by the good faith of the state, even though literally they're not? That was what was said.
Okay, well, first of all, the debt is not necessarily backed by the state sometimes.
We said
sometimes.
that. Yeah.
And then beyond that, you need to look at the source of revenue. And if you're going to buy a municipal bond, you would certainly want to buy, in this case, a general obligation insured piece of paper backed by an outside agency, because somebody's got to provide that stopgap if, in fact, the city does file. Now, if you look at the way the debt trades today, oftentimes, when we look at available inventory to buy, with our clients, there's a number of ways to sort. You can sort by maturity date. You can certainly sort. You start with your state. So New Jersey, and then your geos, and then you look for revenue bonds, and you look for insured bonds. You look for current coupon bonds, and then when you sort by or you sort by yield and maturity. Mm-hmm. You can sort in ascending or descending order.
Well, name a bond of any type in the last 40 years during the casino era in Atlantic City that was taken out by the city of Atlantic City for any purpose, whether it was to pay debt, to build something. Name one that bellied up.
Well, Harry, that's sort of an unfair question because you know the answer already.
I know. That's why I said what I said.
All right, but when you look at
we said until now, if they declare bankruptcy, it would be a whole different story, because then those holders of those bonds would get a haircut. But until now, and I'm not even saying that is seriously on the table, it's been high yield because of perceived risk was not there. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, but let me finish. Because,
you said I'm wrong.
No, because I'm going to go back to where you are looking at those bonds to purchase, and you're sorting by yield with highest on the top. And if Atlantic City debt is available, and sometimes it is and more times it's not of late, they're going to be at the top because of the yield to maturity. Their perception that will they in fact be in a position to pay off the debt holders. Underneath that, and that's an Atlantic City general obligation bond. Now, we all know the state of the New Jersey State Transportation Authority. I mean, certainly not very good. Almost on the verge of being in that same category.
Right.
And and again, I'm merely stating the facts, Harry. I'm not making any assumptions.
I understand.
If the Atlantic City debt has a higher yield, and it's a GO, which is typically stronger credit than a revenue bond, and we know the state of that revenue bond, you got to be very, very careful. So
I agree.
My
but don't you agree, though, that everybody has gone in like it's the swimming pool at 82, 83 degrees because, oh, my gosh, the perceived risk is so great that the yield is so good, but then there's never been the worry that you were ever going to get stiffed. Come on, Chuck. Well, I know I'm
Harry,
right about this.
I will agree with you that historically, yes, you're absolutely right in what you said. However, I'm going to go with the word however in there.
Yeah.
I'm not quite certain that it would be the bond of choice if I were out there buying fixed income.
I wouldn't either, but I'm just saying what the history has been of it.
Now, what Atlantic City needs to do, you have that perception versus reality, and we've had these discussions, publicly and privately. It's very, very challenging putting debt aside for a second, or what has been amassed and what is due and what is on the balance sheet. I mean, I don't know how you reinvigorate. I wish I had the answer. Maybe, Bart Blatstein, a guy that's absolutely brilliant who's now making pretty big bets in Atlantic City. How do you put a resort area in an urban environment?
Right, but what do you also do when you can't afford to pay tax appeal winners the money you owe them? You can't even make the first installment, let alone all of it. And then you also have the reliance on the charity of the sitting governor of the time to give you $30 million in extraordinary aid so that you can backfill your budget. What do you do when you can't pay the bills and you can't pay your debt?
Well, I think we know where we go.
And then that would then trigger what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and for the first time, those bondholders would get a short haircut.
They will take a haircut. And the way those bonds trade today, it's indicating that could, in fact, be the road that Atlantic City, travels. And now, you have the stigma. Detroit lived through it. That city is now resurrecting itself.
Could you say they lived through it and actually thrived through it?
Well, now I think now that they came through on the other end, it's certainly they're in better shape than they were before the filing.
And their pensioners took a little hit.
They took a haircut.
But they didn't take a bad hit, did they?
They took a haircut. I think, Harry,
5%, I think it was.
I'm not sure the number, but I think it's like shared services. Everyone needs to participate.
Yeah, I think it was 5%, which nobody wants. But I mean, I took a 5% pay cut when Donald did and what we had to do. We all had to do it. Chuck, let's take a brief time out. We're going to come right back. He's your official financial advisor, and he is mine. Official financial advisor to the Hurley in the Morning program, and we begin year 26 together. Chuck is going to cover the market update. The first day, trading day, was a little shaky. We'll see what Chuck says. That's how I read it. I tracked it all day. Chuck will talk about 2016 versus 2015, and even before the end of his program today, take a stab at a few 2016 predictions. This portion of our program also brought to us by Dr. Alan Chenman and the Smile Center of Linwood, perfecting the art of beautiful smiles. You can ask to be treated in the Harry Hurley treatment room, where I was yesterday, as a matter of fact, with Dr. Chenman at his wonderful office, very modern, just so well-equipped, at 1999 New Road, Suite D in Linwood. To make an appointment, call Shannon. That's exactly what I did a few days ago, and they'll get you in. 609-601-2199. And you'll be dealing with the cosmetic and restorative dentist, Dr. Alan Chenman, and Dr. Henry Salama, who's actually going to be spending more time at Dr. Chenman's practice. He is so good at implants. That's what Dr. Salama does, and he's written about. I mean, literally has a world reputation. Dr. Chenman practices the full scope of general, cosmetic, and implant dentistry with expertise ranging from porcelain veneers to dental implants, crowns, bridges, inlays, onlays. Simply put, Dr. Chenman can now correct the wide variety of the so-called permanent cosmetic dental problems. If you go to his website, SmileCenterNJ.com, click on the Smile Gallery, and you'll see photos of actual before and after cases. You're going to love Dr. Chenman's personality, his manner with you. He sets a very, very positive and calm tone. Great man. You'll love it there. Call Shannon, his appointment scheduling coordinator, at 609-601-2199. General and cosmetic dentistry, perfecting the art, literally, of beautiful smiles. Dr. Chenman and the Smile Center of Linwood. Back to Chuck in literally 90 seconds.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 is your dependable source for news and weather information here in South Jersey. Listen for the latest national news from Fox News Radio and the Fox Business Network. And now, listen for the latest South Jersey news and your local AccuWeather forecast every 30 minutes all day long. It's the best in talk and local news you need every 30 minutes from WPG Talk Radio 1450 and WPG1450.com.
This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
It's Michael Savage. Join me tonight at 9. Now back to Hurley in the morning on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Welcome back. Chuck Malamut, our official financial advisor to the Hurley in the Morning program. It's very simple to make him yours. Just dial the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield office, 609-383-2010. You might get the torpedo. He might answer the phone. You could get Nancy, Kristen, Chuck. They have an incredible team. The Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield office, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. And you will learn, as I did many, many decades ago, going on 3 decades now, how Chuck has perfected his concept of total asset management coupled with the all-important asset allocation. Chuck, time is yours.
Well, Harry, let's start with yesterday, and then we're going to work our way backwards for a few minutes, and we're going to kind of look at 2016. I think the fact that you had 2 converging forces as we were sleeping that hit the equity markets, and we had a sell-off globally speaking, and with the Chinese market basically hitting their circuit breakers and shutting down, prior to the end of trading, and they were down almost 7% for the day. That then, in fact, carried over into Europe, and then when we got here into the U.S., when you're staring at Dow futures down, close to 300 at the open, you're just saying to yourself, well, geez, this is certainly not a great way to start 2016. And is this going to be what we're setting ourselves up for the entire year? Or is it just sort of a carryover from 2015? So, so you had headlines from the Middle East. You had that ongoing tension between Saudi Arabia and Iran that happened over the weekend.
That was significant. They discontinued normal relations with Iran.
Yeah, and
that's a big deal.
One of the reports that came out of China, I think the ISM number was down, but it was expected to be down. And I think the fact that you had a lot of people come back from the holidays, and they just basically said, we're going to step to the side, so to speak, and let the market do what it has to do. There is some good news to what in fact happened yesterday. As we got to the last hour, the equity market did in fact stage somewhat of a comeback. And, being down, 200 plus points or 1.5% in the S&P, while it certainly doesn't look good, it was better than where we started in the beginning of the day. Now, today kind of sets up to be more of the same as yesterday, but it seems to be a little bit calmer. My initial thoughts, Harry, were as we walked through yesterday, I was thinking, well, is this going to be a repeat of where we were in August? And I will tell you that between the market and the media that we often love, when those channels, constant negative business cycle, they weren't terribly negative. And I think that, in fact, added a little stability to the markets. And today, even though we're down slightly, you don't have that carryover, so to speak, that we had in August.
We're going to do a full segment on Chuck's 2016 predictions in our final segment. We've got to get to the break. I want to ask Chuck if he'll entertain when we come back, and when he gets to the point of his 2016 predictions. A really good friend of the program, good friend of mine, good friend of yours, Chuck, wrote in and wanted to know if you'd be willing to address your thoughts about gold and silver for the first half of 2016. Brief time out. It's halftime. We'll be back. Chuck Malamut is here. I'm Hurley in the Morning, and this is WPG Talk Radio 1450. Humbly yours, we are South Jersey's talk station. Tonight, Philadelphia Flyers versus Montreal Canadiens, 7:30 right here on WPG Talk Radio 1450 on your Radio Pup app that Bill Malamut is listening to right now, literally on Radio Pup. Certainly from WPG1450.com. Also on your HD radios, and all the new cars have the HD radios. You can get an HD radio if you go to 104.9 FM and then just click on HD2, because there's HD 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. HD2, 104.9 FM. You can hear us all throughout southern New Jersey. More Philadelphia Flyers action on Thursday against the Minnesota Wild. Another Flyers game on Saturday the 9th, this Saturday at 1 p.m. versus the New York Islanders, and an upcoming event to put on your calendar. Chris Coleman has done a really good job. Every debate that has possibly been available for us to carry. And, of course, because we carry Fox whenever it's a Fox debate, and this is Fox Business Channel, which to date, Neil Cavuto and his team, I forget the two ladies, they're awesome. They did the best job of all the debates combined, and it is Fox Business GOP debate Thursday night, January 14th, right here on WPG Talk Radio 1450. Back with Chuck in just a moment, and a reminder to reach Chuck and his team. Just call 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010, and make Chuck Malamut and his group your official financial advisors.
There is still no agreement on how to bring casino gambling to North Jersey. The fight remains on whether only existing Atlantic City casinos can expand to the north, or whether an outsider will be brought in to run one of the new gaming halls. The temperatures are finally dropping. It could mean more seal sightings in New Jersey. The Marine Mammal Stranding Center says many seals migrate south to New Jersey when water temperatures dip. He's reminding you, don't approach them if you see them.
This has been a problem in past years, and we want to tell people that there are still wild animals. They do bite.
There have been only a handful of sightings so far because of the unseasonably warm weather. More gun sales will require background checks. Under current law, only federally licensed gun dealers must conduct them on buyers, but many who sell guns at flea markets, on websites, or in other informal settings don't register as dealers. A New Jersey transit bus hit a street sweeper in Galloway Township. The accident hurt the bus driver and a passenger. The sweeper was stopped at a red light when it was hit. The driver has been charged with careless driving. I'm Eric Scott, and this is the Town Square News Network.
This is New Jersey's coldest morning since early March of last year. This morning's wind chill near 0 degrees. It'll be sunny and cold all day long, with lighter winds as the day progresses. That's certainly a good thing. High temperatures today in the lower 30s, most of the state staying below the freezing mark all day long. Clear and very cold again tonight, lows mostly in the teens, and will warm up a little bit tomorrow with mostly sunny skies and highs near 40 degrees. That's near normal for this time of year. Partly sunny on Thursday, some highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Dan Dan Zarrow.
For more than 20 years, the D'Amato Law Firm has served as the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program. Led by certified civil trial attorney Paul D'Amato, the D'Amato Law Firm focuses their practice in representing those who have been seriously injured in construction, products liability, and motor vehicle collisions. The D'Amato Law Firm expertly handles cases throughout the country, but their primary focus is on representing victims injured right here at home in southern New Jersey. They've earned a reputation for excellence. From direct personal experience, I can readily confirm that the D'Amato Law Firm's overall competence, attention to detail, follow-up systems are outstanding, and they truly shine during your moment of truth before judge and jury. The D'Amato Law Firm is centrally located in Atlantic County at 2900 Fire Road, Suite 200. That's the second floor in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. That's the corner of Fire Road and the Black Horse Pike. For all of your personal injury legal needs, turn with confidence to the region's leader in the field of personal injury. They're the D'Amato Law Firm. Call 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. And please tell the D'Amato Law Firm that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
One moment you're playing your favorite sport, the next you're sidelined with a pain, sprain, a twist, or worse. It usually happens when you least expect it. Swinging a golf club, going for a layup, or trying that new yoga pose. That's when you need to call the sports medicine team at Bacharach. Whether you're a weekend warrior or varsity athlete, our doctors and therapists have the know-how to get you back in the game fast. We specialize in sports injuries to the neck, back, hip, wrist, hand, and knee. Plus, Bacharach is the only facility in the region to offer BTE Primus RS equipment that replicates athletic motions from throwing a ball to swinging a club and more. Most sports injuries don't require surgery, but if not treated correctly, they can linger and get progressively worse. So call the sports medicine team at Bacharach today at 609-652-7000 or log on to Bacharach.org. We have 16 therapy centers conveniently located throughout the area.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG, Talk Radio 1450.
AccuColeman weather temperature is 13 degrees. Chuck, that's what it was when I arrived here this morning. Chris Coleman has very accurate, it's called AccuColeman temperature equipment, 13 degrees with a wind chill below zero.
Harry, when I was driving in, it was about 12. And we went from a nice balmy 60-plus degree to 12 degrees in a hurry.
Here's the deal. And it's not even going to go above 32 today. 31 will be the high. 18 will be the low tonight, but I think it's even going to be maybe a little bit lower than that because they said last night 19 was going to be the low, and as you're saying, 12 and 13 wound up being the low with the sub-zero wind chill. And also, I know our communities do a really good job, but people that live outside, and it's sad to talk about, but we can't ignore it either. There are a lot of people that are living homeless. And when it's in the 50s and 60s, that's very doable. A few blankets, you can be very, very warm and comfortable, room temperature. When it's -4 wind chill, that is deadly. So hopefully all the different people that in public safety and public service, work very hard to make sure that people are not outside. It is deadly cold. But as quick as this cold comes, Chuck, it goes. Because by Thursday, it will be 45 degrees, 42 tomorrow, 52 on Friday, 53 on Saturday, 55 on Sunday. And I looked for the next 15 days. We're still in the 40s through the 19th or 20th of January. It's been very strange.
I'm certainly looking forward to that.
Yeah, but me too. Anyhow.
So you had a question, I think, regarding gold, silver.
For the next 6 months.
Look, certainly owning gold in 2015 was not a great investment, down about 14%. Typically, gold and silver, non-correlated asset should be bought and owned in accounts with, looking for somewhat of a hedge when they're somewhat of a safe haven, so to speak. But unfortunately, last year, Harry, with the rout that we had in commodities, it affected, obviously, gold. It affected silver. The emerging markets got absolutely beat up. as a result of what happened with commodity prices. And then if you remember, particularly in the oil patch, high yield, something that we chatted about a few minutes ago, absolutely had a very, very challenging year end. So
now, if the markets have a bad year and go down, don't your precious metals usually go up?
Historically, they have, but Harry, I'm going to say in the last 3-5 years plus, it hasn't worked that way. And there's an old adage that commodities or gold should be a small piece of a portfolio. But if you look at 2015, it certainly would have created a negative bias. And we're not so certain that, especially everything is happening, with oil, in particular where oil goes. The fact of the matter is that I wouldn't recommend now, and I wouldn't recommend 20 or 30 years ago, that 100% of a portfolio is loaded with precious metals. I mean, that you certainly don't want to do that. If you want to, sort of do a risk off, and you think that gold could be somewhat of a safe haven, then maybe allocate 3 to 5%. But I will tell you that in the years that we've been doing this, Harry, I only have a handful of clients that have any sort of precious metals in the portfolio. And I think it's very evident and obvious as to what happened, down 14% last year. That would have had a real negative impact on a portfolio where the S&P was virtually flat for the year, and the only index that was up domestically was the NASDAQ. So we kind of chatted, what we've been through last year. It was a difficult year. It wasn't disastrous. We had a slowdown in our economy as we got off the beginning of 2015. Then if you think about it, a lot happened. I mean, a lot happens every year, but a lot happened last year. We had, Greece, came back in the headlines. I mean, so they declared that the headlines declared you had that possible messy exit by Greece from the Eurozone. Then in the summer, we had the Chinese economy and government surprisingly devaluating their currency. So that in the latter part of the summer, Harry, if you remember, we had that massive drop in U.S. equity markets, with a recovery as we got into the beginning of the fourth quarter. And then as we got into the fourth quarter, again, everyone was thinking about what's the Fed going to do? Are they going to make a move? When are they going to make the move? And they made that 25 basis point movement in December. Now, I think we can go back and look in about 6 months and say whether or not it was the right move and where do they go moving forward. But based on what is happening globally speaking, Harry, I'm not quite certain that the Fed is going to have massive movements in increasing our interest rates, because, quite frankly, when you look at where we're going in 2016, the fact is that, one, consumer spending remained relatively strong. Our deficit did in fact fall. You might want to disagree with that. Our equity markets were pretty resilient despite a lot of downward pressure. So
if they don't continue a rate increase environment, and I've always agreed with you, if it was to continue, it would be in small incremental steps, and they would not, try to put the brakes and halt an already very fragile economy that's not even growing at 2% GDP, which is really disgraceful when you think about during the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. We had a number of years where we were at over 3% GDP. So really, I don't know that the case was made that they should have raised it at all. But I would say this, Chuck, as a layperson, if they don't raise the interest rates anymore, isn't the first thing they did a fraud?
I don't want to say it was a fraud. I think it was something that needed to get out because it was so much advertised that it was going to happen, and if they kind of sidestepped it, I think it probably would have been created a real negative bias to the market. Now the question is, all right, so you want 25 basis points. Where are we going to be at the end of 2016? Are we going to be at 100 basis points from start to finish? I think a lot of that is obviously data dependent, and a lot of it is what is happening not only here in the U.S. but overseas. And when you talked about the U.S.,
I think that's the most it would be, and I don't even know that it will be that much.
Harry, I've heard some analysts actually saying that the Fed will go in and actually take that rate hike back. Actually cut it back to zero. But again,
and by the way, that would second my motion that I just made.
But again, that's more the minority camp, so to speak. So
I think you could leave the 25 basis points if we're not demonstrating that we're where we need to be. There's nothing wrong with them pausing until things get a little better.
So let me give you what we think might be happening next year. And I think what I'd like to do, Harry, is because of time constraints, we're going to get into a little bit more next week. But I'm going to save the 10th prediction as a cliffhanger because you spent a lot of time in that arena, so we'll hold it for there. And maybe you can figure that one out as we're chatting. So you did mention about GDP. We think it's going to remain at 3% or less. And nominal GDP, as we know it, below 5%. And you think about it, if that in fact happens, that'll be 10 years in a row that we've been at those numbers. We are also thinking that Treasury rates are going to increase. But we think that yield curve is going to continue to flatten out as it did as we got to the end of the year. The big concern, the third prediction, we've talked about corporate earnings. As we look at where equities are going to go in 2016, I think a lot of it's going to be dependent on where we are with corporate earnings. And, Eli Lilly this morning, Harry, announced, before the open, downward guidance, and I think they have a analyst meeting, and they wanted to get that out there in advance of the meeting. So that certainly doesn't bode well, for the healthcare industry per se. So we think that consumer spending is going to will increase this particular year, but not by a lot. We're going to be looking at, again, S&P earnings are going to be obviously dependent upon the drop in oil. What happens with the dollar. Some analysts are saying dollars are going to keep increasing in versus these other currencies. We're not quite certain that's going to happen. And wage rates. One of the things that helped the economy last year is the fact that we did have some nominal wage rate increases. You always ask me, Harry, you always say, Chuck, where do you think the S&P is going to go this year? And, predominantly we've come with the opinion anywhere, high single-digit, low double-digit numbers. I'm not quite certain that's going to be happening, Harry, this year. I'm going to make a prediction high single digits. And I'm not going to get into that double-digit scenario because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But if you look at where what we came out of in 2015, and I hope I'm dead wrong. I really do, because typically what happens is when you have a year like we had, and the market gets some firmer footing, it could turn out to be a good year in 2016. But I'm going to be cautious, not pessimistic, but cautious in that prediction. Okay.
Sure. And I don't blame you for doing so. And also, too, we cannot lose sight of the fact this is sort of my lane and you're the best in your lane. This is a presidential election year. And you talk about geopolitical things all the time. The specter of how that campaign's going, sometimes markets clamor for one party over the other in terms of how they will rally around which one wins or which one looks like they're going to win. So there's a lot of unanswered questions as that campaign goes along. It will have a direct impact on the markets. And one of your great guest listeners, Tom, wrote in the program, Chuck, and asked if you would address your thoughts about oil in 2016.
I think oil is going to be at the end of the day, Harry, we could probably trade $3 to $4 off of the current level in either direction. I don't think you're going to continue to have that volatility that we had in 2015. We're still going to need to see, I think, some bankruptcies in the oil patch. with some of the weaker players. So I think more to come on that. Equities, we think will outperform fixed income in the year 2016. We talked about prior to today's show owning non-U.S. equities, particularly Europe and Japan. We think that those particular parts of the world will outperform the U.S. If you look at individual sectors within the S&P 500, there are a couple that stand out as we think will do well. Technology, financials, telecommunications. We think those will be the leaders. We think the laggards are going to be energy, materials, and utilities. You talked about geopolitical risk. That terrorism, cyber attacks, they're going to continue to be in the back of our minds. But if you look at what happened most recently as we got to the end of the year, we don't think it's going to have a lot of impact to the markets. I think the markets have matured, and we now understand what has happened and what can potentially happen in the future. But we obviously had to be careful about it. We think that the federal budget deficit is going to increase in size and as a percentage of GDP for the first time in 7 years. So that's not particularly good. And the last prediction, Harry, we saved that right for you and your listeners. As you chatted about an election year, we are of the opinion.
Say it, Chuck.
Say
it. I love the Morgan Stanley analyst. Say it.
We are of the opinion, and this is not just Morgan Stanley. We use other research as well.
I'm teasing.
We are of the opinion that the Republicans are going to retain the House and the Senate.
But say the other.
And they're going to, in fact, take over, capture the White House.
I didn't know Chuck was going to bring that up, but I thought he would. If you're making 2016 predictions, everything that I've read has said the same thing, that we will do much better, jobs will do better, the economy will do better, and let's hope and pray. I hold Chuck harmless with this comment I'm making. Let's hope and pray that is true. That sounds like excellent research to me. Chuck, we thank you. Thanks for actually about 5 additional minutes of overtime because there was so much ground that you had to cover. We needed the extra time, and we look forward to next week.
Harry, thanks for having me.
Not only your county executive loves you, Chuck, but your adoring listeners love what you bring every single week.
Well, hopefully, Harry, those 10 predictions, we get them at least half right, and it provides your listeners and our clients the ability to have a better year in 2016 than we did in 2015 for sure.
Chuck, thanks. Thanks for your partnership. Looking forward to a great 2016 with Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor to the Hurley in the Morning program in our 26th year together. Chuck leads the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield office. You can reach him at 383-2010. That's 609-383-2010. And the program that you just listened to was presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on the broadcast are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, unbelievable start to the new year. Great tour de force Malamut presentation. And we look forward to next week.
Harry, looking forward to it. Have a good day.
We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. The Truth in Broadcasting continues. It's Wide Open Forum, a mini open forum segment. We'll only have a couple of minutes, but all next hour, Wide Open Forum at 609-407-1450.
This is John Zarek from the law offices of John Zarek. Our team focuses our efforts exclusively on criminal defense law. Our goal is to provide you with the very best legal defense. We have law offices in Northfield, Atlantic City, Cape May Courthouse, and Wildwood. You can reach us by phone at 609-641-2266. Visit us on the World Wide Web at johnzarek.com, and that's spelled Z-A-R-Y-C-H. And please join us every Thursday here on Radio 1450 during the 8 o'clock hour when we address a variety of important criminal defense topics. We're the law offices of John Zarek. We care about you as a team. We are with you and your loved ones every step of the way. If you are facing a criminal or DWI charge that could hurt your standing in the community, damage your ability to find employment, or potentially affect your very freedom, call us at 609-641-2266 so that we can get to work together on your defense.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Atlantic Care. Healthcare you can believe in.
Okay, so you've made that resolution to lose weight in the new year. There's one thing you can do that almost every nutrition plan recommends. Keep a record of what you're eating. We often don't realize how much we're taking in, and by keeping track, we can see where we can cut back. Some other tips? Get plenty of shut-eye. People who snooze for 5 hours or less a night are 1/3 more likely to gain weight than people who get at least 7 hours of sleep. And move around more. This goes without saying. Stand while you talk on the phone. Get off the couch while you're watching TV. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Incorporate movement into your daily life. It all adds up. And last but not least, say no to trans fats. Avoid processed snacks like cookies, cakes, and fries. A good rule of thumb, if it comes in a wrapper, don't unwrap it. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Atlantic Care. Healthcare you can believe in.
This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
Earnings vary based on your effort.
Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in Atlantic City? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the Atlantic City area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. Atlantic City is a perfect market for my system, and next week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties.
To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, call 1-800-359-5052. Seating is extremely limited. Call in the next 10 minutes and you'll also reserve a free copy of Than's Money for Deals Guide. That's 1-800-359-5052. That's 1-800-359-5052.
Hurley, Beck, Hannity, and me. It's Mark Levin, weeknights from 6 to 9 on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Hey, thanks very much, and welcome back. I was checking my email, and what a great opening to 2016 for Chuck Malamut. I mean, that was literally tour de force. When we come back, we'll set the stage. When we come back, anything that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about casinos in North Jersey, a few people have written me about that. We can bring that up. If you want to talk about pilot payment in lieu of taxes, you can bring that up. We broke literally minutes after it happened first, 3 days ahead of the next member of the media that finally reported on the fact that Marty Small is the new president of Atlantic City Council. If you want to talk about that, I can tell you that without him telling me directly, I absolutely know. I'll say learned and confirmed. Mayor Don Guardian would have preferred Frank Gilliam Jr. to remain as council president. They've had a very good working relationship. The mayor wanted that. The mayor wanted newcomer Jesse Kurtz to vote for Frank Gilliam. That would have tipped it 5-4 to Frank Gilliam. Instead, Jesse Kurtz went to Marty Small. Marty Small is the new president of City Council. Listen, I've known Marty. You've heard him many times on this program. I reffed him when he was a high school basketball player at Atlantic City High School. I go way, way back with Marty Small, and I like him a lot. But you know that there's the issue of the state of New Jersey not liking Marty Small very much. Twice they've tried to incarcerate him. So there's got to be, even though nobody has said it yet, there's got to be some reaction to that. because I think the state was more comfortable with Frank Gilliam as the council president. This is obviously, and we're going to get Marty on in the near future, and we're going to, you know what we do here. We ask the questions, the tough questions that should be asked. So we'll bring that up. I think Marty deserves to be given a fair chance to lead. Some of the things I've heard in the early going that he wants to do, anybody that's worried about that he's going to be some kind of nonconformist or something, radical, I don't sense anything like that. I do know that he will be running for mayor, and that's another reason that Mayor Guardian would have liked to have prevented this.
G Atlantic City, WSJO HD2, Egg Harbor City. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. He's going to sidestep Congress again, this time on gun control. President Obama preparing to take executive action. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
The president later this morning will announce plans to expand federal background checks on gun purchasers in an effort aimed at reducing gun violence. Under the executive action, the president will apply a more sweeping definition of gun dealers that will expand the number of gun sales subject to background checks.